What's growing? Andrew, Fairweather Farmer. And today we're talking about tips and tricks to make sure that you're watering your seedlings and your seeds correctly. So, first thing to note is that every crop has different requirements. For instance, onions and peppers don't like to have wet feet. So, once the seeds have germinated and you have the plants established, you need to actually make sure that those crops in particular are drying out in between waterings. Although, as a rule of thumb, once you have emergence, you have your two first leaves, which are your cotyledon, like these on these tomatoes, is that it is actually a good thing for it to dry out a little bit between waterings, but you don't want it to dry out completely because if it stays dry for too long, your plants will die. So there's this balance of watering enough, but not too much. And you need to learn this by practice. And as well, while you're watering, it's better to maybe do a first pass and then walk away and do another section before doing another pass, giving the water time to infiltrate into the pores of the soil to take up that space that used to be just air and fill it with water. And then come back later, check with your finger on the soil, touch, and then see, is it very dry? Is it wet? Does it need another pass? And if it does need another pass, then you can always come back and give a little bit more water. And then to also learn your tool. So for your watering hose, you may use different settings for different crops. Like for instance, for celery and celeriac, it's a very fine seed seeded on the surface. So we use the misting setting. And you need to keep track of the weather because if it's very hot or it's very cloudy, you'll need to water different amounts. And so we've just watered in the morning, and it's always a good idea to check back progressively throughout the day and see if things may have dried out. Maybe the last time you checked it, it was wet enough. And when you come back to give it a little checkup, maybe it's dry and it needs to be watered again. And so there's no fixed recipe of like water at this time of day, water this much, and you'll have success. You need to learn to read the soil, read the plants, read the weather, and figure out how to adjust according to each situation differently. And so this is just a little bit of tips on watering. It also depends, like if you're watering in a nursery where you're selling plants that are not just for food, because we grow fruits and vegetables here, organic fruits and vegetables. And let's say you're watering cactuses, then you need to know that cactuses and succulents in general, they only need to be watered once a month. So if you water them every day, you're going to kill them with kindness. And there are other types of plants that maybe don't require daily watering. They require weekly, bi-weekly, every other day, only when it's dry. So you really have to know your plants and their needs and then do your best to meet their watering needs. So yeah, get watering.